Welcome to another episode of Entrepreneurs at Fuego. We're documenting the journey of amazing entrepreneurs, one digital footprint at a time. With me, I have Olenka, Cullinan, Rising Tycoons.
That's correct.
That's correct. Tell us about Rising Tycoons.
Well, Rising Tycoons was a passion. You know, it's a long time in the making. I've been in education for 10 years, and what came out to be was with the first group of students I worked with, just because everybody was always asking, you know, how did you do it? How did you move here with $450 in your pocket, and then you developed a business, and then you became successful, and you went to school, and you built all this? And so the teens that I was working with in education system, I figured out that I love teens. I worked in college environment, I worked at a university, but 13 to 18 is a just magical age for me. And they figured it out, and that's how Rising Tycoons was born.
You moved here from
Russia.
Russia.
To the U.S.
Which part? Was it still USSR? Or
No, it was
just
already
already
Russia at
broken up?
that time. It was, I moved in 1999.
Okay. All right.
But I started originally coming to work as a camp counselor, to work with youth here, and then I would go back and still go to school in Russia. But then I met a professor who said, you know, your English is great and your passion, you love teaching, so you should just move.
You spoke English in Russia, so
Yes.
you already knew. How did you learn?
My mother,
parents?
you know, it's interesting because my mother sort of forced me to get me a tutor, and at first I was like, why am I doing this? All my friends are having fun, and here's me working with a tutor on the weekends. I don't get it. But then obviously that skill came in to be very handy.
Very, very, very great foresight from your mother.
Absolutely.
How was life growing up in Russia? Because you came here, you said about 10 years ago?
Yeah.
And
but-
so how was life over there in Russia and contrasted to here too?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it was an interesting dichotomy in the first place, because I had what I call a reverse princess syndrome, because when originally my mother was a CEO of a company and my father was, and so she was entrepreneur, die hard, you know, go out on a limb and make it happen. And then my father worked for a government. So I saw both different sides, kind of one is entrepreneurial and free-spirited, and the other one is very by the book and very conservative. But then my dad and my parents actually went for a pretty bad divorce, so our financial situation changed very quickly, and that's why I call it the reverse princess syndrome. So I went from having a lot to learning to come home to my mother barely making it, you know, ends meet. And so it was interesting growing up in that sense. You know, I didn't feel any different than a lot of kids. My mother always made sure that I was exposed, but I definitely realized by coming here that this was the country where you can make your dreams happen, where you didn't need to have connections or help. It wasn't about who you know. It was about how hard you're willing to work.
It is who you know sometimes too.
Yes,
I mean, there are people,
it's
but I get what you're saying. You know,
Right.
because we
But-
need networking. We need people
right.
that have the right connections in order
Right.
to perhaps open a door here or help the journey a little
Right.
bit better. But
Right.
I get exactly
Not
what
to
you're
the
saying.
extent of, you know, bribes and connections and
Which is
Yes.
contrasted with Russia,
Absolutely.
and indeed with a lot of maybe Latin countries, and I want to speak about my own as
Yeah.
well. If you don't have what we call down there the mordida or the bribe, or the little push in terms of a little envelope that comes from your,
Right.
nothing ever gets done, nothing
Right.
ever happens, and
Yes.
people expect that. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, at every
It's
level
just
of that.
part of culture, I think. You know.
Correct. Rising Tycoons.
Yeah.
So here you are, $450 in your pocket. And do you have an epiphany? What happens?
Well, what happened is that I went for college on my own, and I paid for my own school because I couldn't receive scholarships since nobody cared how great my grades were. I was on a visa, and when you're on a visa, a lot of students know that nobody cares. You can make dean's list every semester, but nobody will give you a scholarship. So I had to work 3 jobs to pay for my college, and then I started working in high school. And what happened is that I thought, you know, how did I get through this journey? Why am I here and somebody else maybe didn't make it or didn't get as far? And so I started working with students, and essentially we created the backbone of success. It's a trademark program, 5 steps of how do you get from having a dream with being where you are today to becoming a success story, whatever that means for you. I'm very well aware that not all the teens I work with are going to be entrepreneurs. But what can we give them today that even if they go into workforce, they have the skills, they have the value that they bring to that company that puts them on the next level.
So what you're saying is you don't necessarily have to become an entrepreneur to have the basic core values that you learn through your own experience in order to be integrated into the business world.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. A lot of teens I work with have no intentions of becoming entrepreneurs, but they need leadership skills, they need to build their confidence, they need to be able to articulate themselves, to sell themselves, if you will, because we sell ourselves all the time, to people that we meet.
Socially, business-wise, all the time.
Absolutely. So these are the skills we give them. We give them what we call success skills, and it comes from 3 fields, which is personal development, leadership, and entrepreneurship. And how they decide to apply them, whether it's going to be running their own business, which of course I hope they do, who doesn't like to be their own boss?
Sure.
Or it's maybe going into a workforce and becoming a part of a company.
It has to be incredibly rewarding for you when you see, because not everybody's going to succeed.
Absolutely.
And those are just the statistics. I mean, it's not a reflection on you or your program, but that's what it is.
Right.
But it's got to be incredibly rewarding for you to see out of this crop of people, crop of students that you have, when one really makes it big.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, it's that plus, honestly, even if I change one factor in their life, even if it's one thing, like I have a program right now that's Rising Tycoons Academy here in Phoenix, and I had a student who didn't speak when he started in the program 16 weeks ago, and last Saturday when we were there, he ran a board meeting, and he was in a CEO position of a business. So when you see that transformation, it's one skill that he acquired that he now feels that confident that he can stand in front of a group and run a meeting as a businessman.
What do you attribute the success of Rising Tycoons?
Perseverance. You see, I tell my teens that determination is greatly underrated and talent is greatly overrated. Because to me, there are a lot of talented people out there. But if they don't have the determination to go through no's, to go through ugly parts of their life, to deal with difficulties, to take attitude and feelings out of it, those are the people who don't make it. It's not about, talent is great and it's amazing, but it's that perseverance, it's that extra, there's a saying that there's a difference, the difference between try and triumph is that little umph. And so that's what I tell teens. Cool. If you just add that umph, you can, it's 20 seconds of fear and you'll be on the other side. And that's where magic happens.
And I think that because of your background, because of what you went through, because of what you saw being raised in a different country, seeing your life at a young age being transformed due through the divorce of your parents and coming here to the United States, working 3 jobs, going through college, paying yourself. Nobody cares about whether I make Dean's List. It gives you that inner flame, right? I mean,
absolutely. I
don't want to say that anger, but maybe some type of resentment that you just gutted inside, that you channel it in such a way, in a very positive way, teaching people never give up, be persevering.
Right, and a lot of teens, they have that attitude, life is not fair. Absolutely, 100%, life is not fair.
Correct.
But you can choose to focus around that, or you can choose to prove everybody wrong. And so, that's where that magic, the difference happens, when they go into, okay, I'm not gonna let my circumstances, my race, my zip code, my skin color define me and define the goals that I have. I can go and completely change my life if I'm willing to do a lot of hard work.
And what I hear all the time is people focusing on what they do not have, rather than of what they have.
Absolutely.
And if you start making an inventory of the things that we have, Olenka, then you're like, man, I'm a wealthy individual. I mean, because I can, forgive me, but I can almost guarantee you that person who doesn't have arms or legs would give all his or her fortune to be able to have that. And when we wake up, we take all these things for granted. We take our legs, we take our health for granted, not realizing that there are other people out there that may just give everything in the world to have the type of health that we have.
No, 100%. And also, honestly, I've been blessed. I worked with teens from 21 countries at this point. So I love putting my teens and let them see perspective. When I work with teens in Kenya and they walk to school one way for 40 minutes, and then I tell that story to, some of my more affluent teens, and I said, maybe you shouldn't complain about not having a Wi-Fi in your house, because this is a different perspective for you.
It is an entirely different perspective.
Yes, and that's when sometimes that light bulb goes off for them, because they think, oh, wait a second, I have so much.
And here is what is incredibly valuable about Rising Tycoons, is the fact that you have that experience and you have that perspective in your own life to give to all those who may not have it, and you give them that relativity, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, everything is relative.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have Wi-Fi, oh yeah, really?
Right.
Here's what this other student has to go
Definitely.
through.
And that's partially why I think Rising Tycoons is a bit different. I try to bring as much real experience in their life as possible, so I put them in front of real entrepreneurs. I have them hear stories where somebody fails in their business all the time, because I don't want them to have that notion of entrepreneurship that it's, 5 minutes off stage and it's glory and it's beauty. Yes, it comes with it, but it's the grind, it's the everyday struggles that are going to get you there,
Just right now, you just said exactly what the spirit of the show is all about. We don't take the blue pill, go to sleep, and wake up in 2 weeks and the Lamborghini's parked outside. It doesn't happen like that, Olenka.
Not at all. Absolutely. We work hard.
You are just my hero. You're an incredible inspiration, because these kind of things just get to my heart.
Thank you. I appreciate
People that go through grind and struggle and at some point you come on the other side and you're like, okay, you can breathe.
Yes, absolutely. You can breathe, and that's when you stop and smell the roses.
I love that. You're gonna have to come back. Like, if it were for me, come back every Friday.
Absolutely. I'll just do a 5-minute motivational piece in the morning.
Because I could hear you. I mean, I'm just fascinated by you. I could hear you all over again. And this is one of the videos that I'm just gonna play and play. It's just like those songs that you just can't stop listening to.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
That's what you are. With that, we're out.